Okay, we are recording. So, there are some changes to the editor here. I mean, at the moment I have the level that I'm putting together that's going to be the main factory level. It's not quite complete yet. On the playable characters tab, there is an auto-generate equipment graphics. That's one of the last things that I want to do. But on the globals tab, globals, it's actually got some organization here. There's event flags in their own section. Emotions are in their own section. Items and effects are a brand new section. It contains item properties, playable character buffs, shared equipment, shared inventory, and this export, import, and copy assets stuff, that's something that I'll get into later. There's also a button here that allows you to reorder the rooms if you feel like it. But I think I'm going to start at the bottom here, because these different features, the equipment, the items, the custom items, the buffs, they sort of build on each other, and at the bottom are buffs that can apply to the playable character. So I'm going to start with that. And as you can see, I've got quite a few here. These are the four items, these are the four effects that can appear from the circling items. And as I scroll down, you will see that there are buffs for each of the different equipable items. And they each have a little icon here. I'll get into that pretty soon. You can tell I've been busy making boots, but let's add a brand new buff here. It's going to be invincibility. And one of the first things that you want to do is to select an icon for the buff. And there's several categories of icons that you can pick from. Classic elements, I'll show you what those look like. And obviously I need to resize these windows that actually show this stuff, but you got fire, lightning, ice, water, air, plant life, earth, arcane or pure magic or whatever you want to call it, holy, shadow, poison, life. You can also cancel by Xing that. There's other stuff like shoot 'em up powers. You can see various types of projectiles here. Fuel, radar, wingmen, speed boost, aimers. But I think that I'll cut out talking about that stuff and pick a shield for the invincibility power-up. Let's see. Let's go with orange and green. It's actually going to flash rainbow colors, but let's call it invincibility. All ponies are invulnerable and damage enemies on contact for 60 seconds. Let's see, duration in milliseconds. A millisecond is 1/1000th of a second, so basically if I go with 60,000, that means it's going to last 60 seconds. And you can set up these buffs to target a specific character. The question mark means whichever character consumes the item. Star means absolutely all the characters get this effect, and that's what I want. Let's see. And you can also add overlay graphics. The funny thing about this is you can set these overlay graphics so that they are different for different animations. Like you can have one animation for standing and looking to the left, one for walking left, one for being airborne left, one for standing and looking right, one for walking right, one for being airborne. This is a minor annoyance that pops up in the previews now and then when I have other windows that are showing these things. Don't know quite how to make it go away, but, you know, I figure it's just a minor annoyance and I can ignore it. And the reason why I did this, the reason why it's possible to have directional buff animations and non-directional ones is actually the way that equipment appears on your playable character, the way it appears on the ponies after you equip an item, is that the equipment applies a buff to the playable character, and it's basically animating that buff on top of the playable character that makes the equipment appear on your character. I'll get into that another time. In this particular case, I don't want directional animation, so I'll use the select multiple files feature here. Okay, so what I have here is a flash that goes with all these different colors. I'll set it to use white as the transparent image. Now let's preview this, and as you can see, it sort of flashes over the playable character. So that's that for the animation, at least for the buff. Let's see. But here's the thing, the buff isn't actually going to do anything for your character unless you add buff effects. And that's what these buttons down here are about. And the idea is that I, the programmer who's putting all of this together, need to put as many different effects in here as I can think of. Anything that I can imagine that is going to be used by a level designer. For example, this one is slain enemies spawn hearts. If you have a pony or a playable character that has this buff on them, and that character fires on an enemy and kills it, then that enemy is going to leave a heart behind. At least as long as this buff is active. If this buff wears off, then not so much. You can boost their jump height, maximum health you can boost, their speed, spreading shots. But the ones that we care about here are invulnerability and damaging enemies upon touch. So I'll add invincible here, and that has a specific icon here that's different from these icons. I wanted to make it obvious at a glance what these effects were. So yeah, there's a Starman on top of a shield. Another one that I want is damaging touch. You got a little stick figure touching a robot, and there's a parameter here. You can tell it exactly how much damage it's going to deal when your character touches an enemy. I'm going to go with 99 because I want those enemies to die instantaneously when you touch them. So I'll click OK here, and down here at the bottom, invincibility is a new buff. And then there's this set depths button. One parameter that is absolutely not anywhere on this this wizard for creating or editing buffs is the depth upon which this is drawn. If you want to set the depth, you're going to need to be able to compare it to other buffs, and you can only edit one buff at a time here. And one thing that you will notice, and I should show it now, is the X and Y offsets. If I do this, say that 44 is the offset, then it's going to show the flash not centered on the character, but over to the right. Obviously, that's not what we want. You can also change the Y offset, negative 55, and it'll be way up here. Positive 55, and it'll be way down. Those offsets are important when you're trying to align, say, a jacket or a pair of boots onto a pony. But for this particular one, we want it to be perfectly centered. That would be 0, 0. Anyways, to set the depth upon which this is drawn, let's see. you have to have at least a few buffs in here before it allows you to set that. So let me add invincibility here. And it shows a little preview of the character, and you can change which animation you're previewing. Airborne right, walking right. Because it's non-directional, it's just going to show the same flashy animation no matter which way you go. When you select one of these buffs, it shows you a depth, and you can change the offsets as well. These use for all animations buttons are grayed out. If you have directional animations, then you can say use this depth for absolutely all of them. And it is possible to have different depths for different animations. You can have walking left be -1 while walking right is +1. That would allow you to have equipped items that are just on one side of the character, and you don't have to go ambidextrous sprite on them. You can make it obvious that something is being carried on the left side of the pony or the right side of the pony, what have you. You can also have it behind the character. Set it to -4, and as you can see, the flashing is behind Twilight instead of on top of her. So you can make these behind the character instead of on top of the character by giving it a negative depth. But what I want is for this to be above all the other buffs that the character can have. And most of those buffs are equipable items. But, you know what? I also have some buffs that are buffs per se. Like Starry Charm, that's the increase in attack power. Big-Hearted, that's increased maximum health. And each of these has depth to it. And they're different from each other so that we know which one's going to be on top and which one's going to be on bottom. Speedy Hooves is 33, so that's further on top. And higher jumping, that's 30. Now, I think I'd prefer it with an invincibilities behind them, so let's go with 29. Okay, and now it's a little bit too cluttered, so let me just remove some of these. Okay, I think we have a winner here. So this is what allows you to preview different buffs. You can also alter the offsets if you like. Let me show you what else this buff preview can do. Let's see, let's add a rain jacket onto this. Now you can see what the jacket looks like when it's on Twilight. And if there's, something wrong with it, you can fix the offsets or you can fix the depth. Let's see, what else can I add? There's some boots on her. You can see how the different buffs interact. Let's see. Let's just add the rain pants here. Now you can see that the pants are a little bit above the jacket. Nope, they're not. Never mind. Let's see what would happen if they looked like they were above the jacket. I'll have to remember that that's 5. Now you can see that it's sort of covering the pocket there. But bring it back down to 1. And these are just above the pants. So if I set this to 5, then as you can see, the pants are going over her hind boots there. So it just doesn't look good. Anyways, we have the buff there. The next step is to add the item. Alright, we are recording again. So, now that I have created that invincibility buff, it's not actually going to be applied to the player unless it appears in an actual item in an actual room. You know what? I'm just going to put it in the lobby in this case. And as you can see, there is a brand new layer here. the items layer. I'm using cherries to represent that. Cherries are just generally the icon for items here. Oh, and before I forget, I'm going to need to get rid of some of this stuff here, just so that it's easier to see. You can, again, you can make layers disappear or reappear by opening or closing these eyes next to them. Oops, I think I want to keep the tile map, the static blocks there. And this icon here, this palette item, allows you to import standard gem items in. Like, for instance, there's absolutely no amethysts here. Boy, I really got to redo the sizes on some of these windows. I'll have to make a note to myself to do that. Let's see. Must resize items. I have this journal entry in the tutorial video. Yes, I keep these journals to keep track of what I've done. Why am I even still saying this out loud? Anyways, let's see. Let's add amethyst round here, and let's see. Let's also add amethyst pointing left and tourmaline large round. I've added actually quite a few more gems. I've added the ability to make enemies drop gems. I should say custom NPCs drop gems. So you can place these standard gems however you like. These three weren't here before. It stopped here at the topaz prism before I added these. There's actually quite a few of these gems. And if you decide you don't want one in here after all, you can uncheck it. Hang on. Let me just erase the new ones that I created here. Amethysts. I'll erase the round amethysts here, and then I click on this, and never mind. It's still grayed out. Can't figure out for the life of me where I put that other round amethyst, but oh well. I guess once they're on the palette, they're on the palette. No matter. Let's go to what I was going to do before. Creating a new item. You also have the ability to import an existing custom item from other rooms, and in fact that's the default, but you can tell it to create a new custom item. And let's see, invincible star. The 7-star Legend of the 7 Stars. Actually, I think this uses basically the same colors that the 7 stars from Super Mario RPG used, but beside that. This is going to be a flashing star. Very, very simple. Let's see. The controls here allow you to add item properties. I'll get into item properties when I'm talking about equipment later. They'll be important there, but they're not important for this particular item. Invincibility star. Let's see, item description, a star that lets you become invincible for 60 seconds. You can decide to restore health on consuming it, like let's go with 7 there. Let's see, checkpoint behavior. If you want, you can set up one of these items so that they function as a goal. Goal regular just ends the level. Goal commentary means that once you've ended the level with this item, you also unlock commentary. Checkpoint simply means that you get a checkpoint when you get that item. So you can essentially create your own checkpoint items using this. You can also set things up so that if this is spawned when an enemy dies, you can have it thrown randomly away from the enemy, you can have it just fall straight down, or you can have it not affected by gravity at all. There's also this item should not respawn. If you collect this item, then go through a door, and then go back, then if this checkbox is not checked, the item's just going to be respawned. If you check this checkbox, then you can only get this item once, and if you leave the room and come back, it will not respawn. Equipability and consumability. You can make it consumable in inventory, consumed on touch, equipable in inventory, equipped immediately when you touch it, auto-equip, and unremovable. That's intended to be used if your equipment system is sort of ancillary to the gameplay. Like if you're putting together a Metroidvania game and you want an item to be instantly equipped and you don't want the player to even be able to unequip it, then that's the one for you. And obviously an item is either consumable or equipable, but it cannot be both, and it can be neither as well. I'm just going to say consumable in inventory. The other items that I have shown so far that give you a buff, like the Starry Charm one, that one is consumed on touch. As soon as you touch it, you automatically consume the item and get whatever buffs it gives you. And these effects on being consumed and equipped, this gives you a list of buffs that can be applied. And let's go with invincibility there. Again, I'm going to have to scale that window up. Anyways, you can also set the depths and preview it here if you feel like it, but it's probably better not to. Click on OK. Click OK here. And now you see this red star. I'll just put it right here. Let's see where the enemies are, up there. Then when you collect this item, you'll have it in your inventory and you can consume it pretty much at will. Alright, we are once again recording. So here's Twilight. There's Rainbow Dash. And there's the invincibility star, flashing rainbow colors. Touch it, and obviously it rises up like that. And now it appears in the inventory. And as you can see, it's got a green outline. The outlines that these items have determine what you can do with them. Blue means it's equipable. Red and pink mean it's neither equipable nor consumable. Green means it's consumable. So if I click and drag this item over to this consume box here, now you can see that buff is on her. All parties are invulnerable on damage enemies on contact for 60 seconds. Duration left, 60 seconds. And yeah, when the inventory screen is open, actually I'm eager to see what happens when I get hit by a bullet. Nothing. Haha. Take it. So there she is. Boom. Just touch them and they die. Very handy. How much time's left on this thing? Okay, almost another 30 seconds. Oh, you're going to hit me with lightning? Doesn't work. Actually, it kind of looks like touching the lightning caused the enemy to take damage. How's that for interesting? It's probably almost done here. Just in time to get hit by one of those bullets. Or fireballs, I should say. So essentially that's how you get a playable character buff onto a playable character. That's how you create your own custom item. That's how you get the item to apply the buff.